have guests.
Oh, this is cool. Hi. I'm Ryan.
Ryan Rose.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
My family.
Pleased to meet you.
Are you ready? Four. 2, 1.
Back on the Horse Talk Show in the studio with Dancing Pete Roeder from Complementary Horsemanship. I'm Louisa Button, and our special guests, Ryan and Emily Rose, are here.
Woohoo!
Top equestrians and also horsemanship trainer Ryan Rose, who we're going to chat to a little bit first. And Dancing Pete is taking over. Louisa's zipping it.
Hey, if you're in the Central Florida area and you're having some trouble with your horse and you would like me to come out and personally give you a lesson with that horse and see if I can help you develop a better connection and partnership with them, fill out the link down below in the description. It'll take you to a form, and you can apply to be featured in one of my videos. Hope to see you there.
So, Ryan, tell us how you got into horses. What was your memories as a child or when you started?
When I was a kid, I was obsessed with horses. So every birthday, it was going for a trail ride, or when I was real little, doing the little pony around the carousel thing, and I just couldn't get enough of it. So when I was 12, my parents got me riding lessons. That's how I got started.
So when was it that you decided this was going to be your profession and start doing horses full time in your journey?
When I was 16, I went and worked in the summertime for a trainer that had come up to my area, did a clinic. His name was Dan Grunwald. He did a clinic, and then I went and worked for him in the summertime. And as I was getting ready to leave at the end of the summer, he took me out for breakfast, and he looked at me across the table, and he goes, someday you're going to be better at this than me. He goes, you got a career in doing this. And I was like, whoa, like I hadn't really considered it before that. And I was like, he's like, you need to go home and ride horses and try to teach some clinics and get started. So literally,
How old were you?
16.
Wow.
So I literally went home and taught a couple of clinics at my local 4-H clubs and got started.
Talk a little bit to our listeners about how important the foundation of a horse is.
For me personally, I think it's everything. I do compete. My wife competes. But at the same time, anytime you have a problem at a higher level skill, it goes back down to basics. And with horses, I believe that the first time is the first time. The first time is arguably the most important experience. So whatever it is, their first. Maybe it's first time trail loading, first time being separated from their mom as a baby, first time with a saddle, first time with a rider, first time jump, you name it. If it is a bad experience, or if they're not prepared for that experience at that level of intensity, it could go south. And the horses don't have a delete button. Whatever they learn the first time always stays there.
So talk us a little about what's going on here with this horse, Ryan.
So this was a lady from Minnesota that was getting stuck at trailheads with her horse. She would go trail ride, have a good ride, and then could not get her horse back in the trailer. And it got to had one time where it was really bad. And she called me and said, I need some help trailer loading. And fortunately, she had to trailer load to my house because she lived a long ways away. And this horse he would go in the trailer, but he would come running out. He wouldn't stand in the trailer. And what's cool is 2 weeks later, she sent me a video after this session, and this session took about a half an hour long. She was able to still load her horse. But it was a good example that if he had a little more foundation in the beginning, it would have been, this point would have been a lot easier. So I would rather not have to fix a horse that learned some bad habits. It always takes a little more pressure and it's a little harder to do that than it is when you're teaching them for the first time. So I would rather be there first, or I'd rather teach the owner to be there first. It's a much smoother process.
And what are we seeing here? Is this your...
Yeah, so this was a 17-year-old horse that went to this boarding stable. It had arrived there a few days ago. Its owners are elderly and they can't care for him, and they had to take him from their house to this boarding stable. And he became very dangerous to try to catch. He was kicking and kind of going after the staff because he got so frantic being by himself, and they couldn't catch him in that pasture. He also was previously a stallion, so he was recently gelded. And the lady that you see there, she is the manager there. She's not responsible for training him, but she has to keep her staff safe, and she understands that this elderly couple needs her to figure this out. She can't just send the horse home and move on. And so they had a really big incident of him striking at people trying to catch him. And so I wanted to see how they did it. And then there's a video on my YouTube channel on how we went about helping him. And he didn't have very much training. He hadn't been handled very much. And so basically I just needed to show them some strategies for bringing him up with the herd. His whole world got changed. Imagine he's 17 years old. He had done things a certain way for a long time. And she's not a trainer, and she's not responsible for training him, but yet we have to work with him to bring him in and out, turn out every day. So I just gave her some strategies to help him get connected with her. So that helped with the stallion behaviors and also made him a little safer to be around.
How did you get her to kind of connect with him? How did you show her how to get that connection?
So from here we go into the arena, and I work with him on some just basic ground manners, just protecting our space, yielding his hindquarters to get connection. You can kind of see that now. And then I handed the rope over to her, and she started trying it with him, and things have been going smooth with them ever since. So it was just this one lesson, but he just needed a couple little things. And I think an interesting point that came out in this is when his whinny would change from a frantic, high-pitched whinny, I won't try to replicate it, but to a lower like stallion greeting a mare. Yeah, there you go, Steve. He knows that one, yeah. And if they would try to correct him in that stallion mode, that's what would trigger the fight instinct. So stallions, they will go to the fight instinct a lot stronger, quicker than mares or geldings will. It's more just in their wiring to do that. So we tried to diffuse those situations and just not create them, like turning him out first versus turn the other horses next to him, get him all amped up in his stall, because that energy that excited energy lives close to the stallion energy. And so it's like he could switch over very quickly to fighting with them. And that's what we're trying to avoid, is not you can't train a horse when they're in that mode.
We're going to keep you here with us, but we're going to add Emily in because we want to hear a little bit about, now Emily, different end of the spectrum.
Yeah, very.
Some dressage.
So did you start off in horses doing English, or?
I was just a recreational rider.
Okay.
I just rode for fun as a kid. I didn't even do 4-H or anything, and then kind of lost horses for a while I was in college and graduate school, and then came back. So I went to PT school, and I'm a human physical therapist, and always knew I wanted to incorporate that with riding somehow, and so my specialty is treating riders now.
Oh,
That
wow.
makes sense. I mean, and we'll get you probably lean in just
Lean
a
in
little
more.
bit more.
Okay.
Yes, you can cuddle up close. At least they like each other.
Yeah, at least they like it. We don't, but I'm joking.
Tell us a little bit about physical therapy for people. That's got to be, especially for equestrians, that's got to be really a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I run into a lot because any doctor can give you a referral to physical therapy, but a lot of physical therapists, in my opinion, don't understand the mechanics of riding a horse or what
That
a rider
is
has
so
to
spot
do.
on. Yes.
Spot on.
So a lot of times, a lot of people that I get, clients that I get, are like, I went to physical therapy, I did the exercises, but it's still bothering me when I ride, or I can't quite figure it out, like something's just not quite right. But it's because that physical therapist probably hasn't ever ridden a horse.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Just like I can't teach a golfer, you know,
Right.
I can't rehab a golfer. Like I'm no good at that. So we all have our niche. So I, try and dabble myself in understanding a lot of the disciplines or sports, equine sports, so that I can treat riders across the gamut from, jockeys to English riders to jumpers to barrel racers. So
So are you guys able to teach each other lessons for the biomechanic part and from the helping the horse part from Ryan's side?
We do, actually. She asks me all the time for advice, like sometimes horsemanship advice with her horse if it's worried being by itself at a show or something like that. And then I have a tremendous amount of respect for her because she is at a very, very high level of what she does. She's not like just started doing it or something. It's very high
not a
level.
newbie.
It's almost like she has a sixth sense because she sees so many fine details.
With people and horses.
With people and horses, and it's really
Experience.
phenomenal.
Does she work on you as far as physical therapy stuff?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Wow.
Something you can,
You got a winner there.
wake up with something a little sore, and she's like, "Oh, I can mobilize that." And usually it's painful, but I've learned
I
PT can also
mobilize that.
stand for pain
Ryan
and torture.
I are very wimpy when it comes to things.
no
He
pain, no
can't
gain.
even stand a bit of cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have to go, is it worth it? Like, okay.
So tell us, have you had a favorite horse?
Probably the horse I have currently, her name's Sage, and if I have time, real quick, there was a story. So when I was in, I think North Dakota doing a horse expo, and they needed me to, on the spot, like I was doing a Liberty demonstration, then I immediately had to go to a bridleless riding demo in the big arena that I hadn't been in yet, and it was following ACT, where they had like all these like rings of fire and medieval stuff, and so all these tools that you don't normally work with horses, right, out in the arena. And I'm like, boy, can I go in there cold turkey with? And I'm like, I'm not doing it. I told them I'm not going, and they're like, we need you to go, and they talked me into it. And I'm like, well, I'm leaving my bridle on, but of course the crowd wants to see you run around bridleless, right? Well, I'm in the back there, and she's listening pretty good. I mean, again, I went from my Liberty demo to saddled up, standing in the entryway, and I'm like, she feels kind of good, she's listening to my seat and turning. I'm like, all right. So I reached up there, took the bridle off, and we went, galloping into the arena because we're hyping the crowd. I'm only in there for a minute.
I know Ryan really well. He preps everything he does.
Exactly.
So he is not going to take a chance. We've done demos together, and I said, hey, let's do this. We haven't practiced it.
This is true.
He's the sensible one.
Yes. I was like, let's do this.
He's the sensible influence.
So I went in there, and she was just on point. She did everything I asked her to do perfectly. I mean, it was just great. And the appreciation that I had for her at the end of that, and the foundation that she had to be able to go in there with, there's a million reasons it could have went bad, and it didn't. It went really well, and I was just so proud of her. And that was one of our strongest bonding moments because I needed her. I needed her to fill in and be ready for things that I really hadn't prepared her for, and she did it.
I love that.
And what horse was this?
This was Super Sage, yeah.
Super
Sage.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's awesome. I love those. That's great. And you? Do you have a favorite?
I do. It's my old guy. He's 22 and retired now, but they say those terms, heart horse. He's my heart horse. He'd try anything for me. He'd walk through fire if I wanted him to. Nothing fancy, but he's just
they're the best.
A good guy.
Yeah. I want to thank you both for being with us
Yay.
so much.
Thank you
for having us on.
Definitely find these guys and follow them. They do a great job. Thank you, Pete. This was our first show of
2023.
That's right. It's going to be a great year. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back next week. Whether you're in Ocala, Marion County, the horse capital of the world, or not, happy horsing around till the same time next week.
See ya.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. That was awesome. Thank you very much for having us on.
It was lovely.